The forest floor was a frozen sponge, the numbing cold seeping through Eli Carter's threadbare trousers, claiming his limbs with an icy, creeping paralysis. At 4, his small frame, already burdened by the cruel calligraphy of disability, felt dangerously close to succumbing. Each shuddering breath rasped a tiny, agonizing counterpoint to the storm's demonic orchestra. He squeezed his eyes shut, a fleeting, almost hallucinatory image of his mother's face shimmering behind his eyelids, spectral, impossibly pale. Her voice, a fragile echo, "You're my brave little star." That star, his first conscious memory. Moments before a coughing fit stole her. Light was flickering violently now, threatening to be snuffed out by the unforgiving Oregon tempest. Abandoned to the whims of his monstrous stepfather, Buck Thompson, deep within the storm-lashed Willamette Forest, a place whispered to be the hunting ground of the Shadow Man. From his mother's hushed, terrified tales, raw despair became his only companion. The howling wind, not just tearing, but seeming to speak through the grasping skeletal oaks, became the Shadow Man's voice. The cracking branches, his stealthy footfalls. A sound, a snuffling guttural noise from the undergrowth, made him whimper. Was it a wolf or something worse? The Shadow Man commanded, as the icy numbness spread from his extremities towards his core. As his tiny heart faltered, a figure materialized from the oppressive gloom. A mirage of power and unexpected grace. A billionaire, his features starkly illuminated in the intermittent jagged flashes of lightning. Witnessing the child's life breath fading on the frigid, unyielding earth, the man's eyes, sharp and assessing, mirrored both a profound, world-weary sorrow and a fiercely ignited protective anger. He knelt, his voice a low, resonant rumble against the storm's primal fury. "You deserve to live. You will live." Dark clouds, heavy as bruised plums, writhed above Creswell like tormented spirits. The wind, a banshee's shriek tearing through the ancient skeletal oaks that clawed at the sky, presaged some unfolding, nameless horror. The solitary wooden house, hunched precariously beside the slick, black ribbon of Highway 99, seemed to be actively devoured by the bleak, unforgiving landscape, a tiny island in a sea of shadows. Inside, a dim, flickering bulb cast a jaundiced, pitiless glow on Eli's innocent, bruised face. Small and achingly frail for his 4 years, a congenital defect had twisted his left leg, leaving him with a pronounced, painful limp. He sat huddled back, pressed against the peeling rose-patterned wallpaper, a faded echo of his mother's presence, clutching a tattered teddy bear missing one button eye. Buttons, a sacred relic, a silent confidant, his only tangible link to a gentler past. The front door, ill-fitting and warped by countless seasons of damp, screamed open, as if protesting the violence to come. Buck Thompson erupted into the room, a malevolent storm in human form. A burly, imposing man, his battered cowboy hat cast long, dancing shadows over eyes bloodshot from cheap whiskey and a festering rage. His crumpled flannel shirt reeked of stale beer motor oil and something acridly unidentifiable. He slammed a greasy set of keys onto the scarred kitchen table, the metallic clang echoing like a gunshot in the tense silence. His voice, a gravelly bellow, tore through Eli's fragile calm. "Still sitting there, you useless little cripple. I told you to scrub this damn floor till it shines, not till Christmas rolls around again." Eli flinched the sound, a physical blow. He scrambled with a desperate, uncoordinated haste to his feet, his left leg dragging heavily, a sharp, fiery pain shooting up his hip. "I'm almost done, Uncle Buck," he whispered, his voice as thin and fragile as spider silk. "It's just, my leg hurts something awful today. The cold makes it worse." Crash. The half-empty beer bottle Buck had been nursing slammed onto the table, then toppled, shattering. Shards of cheap brown glass skittered across the already filthy linoleum, glinting maliciously. "Don't need to hear your whiny excuses, boy." Buck hissed, his face contorting into a mask of raw contempt. You think I give a rat's ass about your damned leg? Your mother, God rest her foolish soul, practically died bringing your worthless hide into this world. Wasted her life on you. Now I'm stuck with the burden, this constant limping reminder of my rotten luck. Eli recoiled as if struck, his small hands tightening their grip on the teddy bear, his last lifeboat in a raging, venomous sea. But Buck, with the predatory instinct of a feral animal sensing weakness, had seen it. He strode forward, his heavy mud-caked boots thudding ominously, and snatched buttons from Eli's grasp. With a grunt of disgust, he hurled the bear against the damp-stained wall. It landed with a soft, mournful thud, lying still and forgotten in the encroaching, gloomy shadows. No, please, not buttons. Eli sobbed, lunging instinctively, his small, trembling hands outstretched, desperate to retrieve his only friend, his silent keeper of secrets. Buck, however, was faster, his movements surprisingly agile for his bulk. He grabbed Eli by the collar of his thin patched shirt, dragging him roughly to the barren center of the room. You hear me, boy? If it weren't for you, for your mother getting saddled with a cripple, I wouldn't be rotting in this godforsaken hellhole. I could be living like a real man out there, free, not babysitting some broken, whining toy. I'm sorry, I'll clean the floor, Uncle Buck. I'll clean it real good. I'll be good, I promise. Eli's pleas were desperate, choked with tears and the familiar taste of fear. How many times have I heard that pathetic apology? Buck roared, his spittle flying, flecking Eli's face. Don't you get it? You shouldn't even exist. With each punctuated word, he shoved Eli hard. The boy stumbled, his balance precarious, his forehead cracking sharply against the unforgiving edge of the table. A small, fresh trickle of bright red blood oozed from the new cut, mingling with the faded yellow and purple geography of older, forgotten bruises. But this time, something inside Eli, a tiny, resilient spark of defiance, perhaps a reflection of his mother's own quiet strength, refused to be entirely extinguished. His voice, though weak and laced with pain, carried an unexpected, fragile firmness. My mom said she loved me. She said even if I wasn't perfect, she still cared more than anything. And you're not my dad, my real dad. He wouldn't be like you. The air in the cramped, squalid room suddenly thickened, charged, and dangerous. Buck froze, his furious expression, shifting to one of stunned, incredulous disbelief, and then contorting into a dry, twisted, chillingly mirthless laugh. What did you just say to me? He bent down, his whiskey-laden breath, hot and foul, washing over Eli's small, upturned face. You dare tell me who I am because you think I don't love you. Eli trembled violently, blood trickling into his mouth, the metallic taste sharp and sickening. You think a worthless piece of trash like you knows a damn thing about love. Buck screamed, his already tenuous control snapping completely. He seized Eli by the collar again, lifting him clear off the ground with one powerful, calloused hand. The boy's legs kicked wildly, a useless panic dance against the indifferent air. Then, with a guttural grunt of pure disgust, Buck dropped Eli to the floor like a discarded sack of refuse. Fine. You say I don't love you. Well, maybe you need to learn what it's like when nobody, and I mean nobody, does. His eyes, hard and pitiless, gleamed with a cruel, newly formed purpose. Get in the truck, now. Where are you taking me? Eli stammered, his voice hollow with a primal, sickening fear that crawled up his spine. He remembered his mother's whispered tales, not lullabies, but hushed warnings about the Shadow Man, who lurked in the deepest parts of the woods, the one who stole away naughty children, not to punish, but to keep. Were the grasping branches outside the window, then the Shadow Man's fingers was Uncle Buck, his helper. The wind suddenly moaned like something inhuman caught in the trees. To where you belong. Buck snarled, his voice a low growl. To a place where no one will ever hear your pitiful, whiny cries again. He threw his greasy, sweat-stained jacket over his shoulder and yanked the warped door open. The wind howled with renewed ferocity, a mournful symphony of despair, the sky growing an even more oppressive bruised gray, as if the heavens themselves were recoiling from the unfolding, deliberate cruelty. Eli was shoved roughly into the rusted, cold back seat of the beat-up pickup. The springs groaned under his slight weight. He didn't dare utter another word, clutching buttons now smeared with mud and smelling of damp earth tightly to his chest. "I'll be good. I'll clean everything. I won't cry. I don't need much to eat." He mumbled into the bear's matted fur, a desperate, whispered litany of self-preservation, a prayer to any god that might be listening in the howling storm. He felt the stories his mother told closing in on him, the snapping twigs outside, becoming the footsteps of the forest monsters, the moan of the wind, their hungry cries. Buck said nothing. He slammed his door with a vicious finality, fastened his seatbelt with an angry tug, and turned the ignition. The engine roared to life, a discordant, protesting beast, and the truck lurched onto the muddy, rutted track, leading into the dense, black heart of the Oregon forest. A place sane, ordinary people avoided, especially in such tempestuous, violent weather. Eli watched the familiar, miserable world of the rundown shack dissolve. Outside his grime-streaked window, tears mingling with the relentless, icy rain streaming down his small face. His small heart hammered against his ribs, like a trapped bird desperate for escape. Each violent jolt of the truck over unseen obstacles, each shadowy, menacing turn in the road, amplified his burgeoning terror. Would he leave me here in the dark, with the things Mama said lived in the shadows? The scent of wet pine and decaying leaves filled the cab, a smell he'd forever associate with ultimate fear. The truck tore through the wind, and rain a rusted harbinger of doom. In the bruised sky above, thunder cracked a cosmic whip, lashing the earth, and forked lightning illuminated the horizon, momentarily ripping the oppressive atmosphere asunder. In the back seat, Eli clutched buttons, his small, brave soldier, his only anchor in a world suddenly, irrevocably turned monstrous. He didn't know his destination, only that this time, his whispered pleas for his mother's protection felt fainter than ever. This time, no one was coming to save him. The bruised sky hung heavy, thick layers of ominous cloud threatening to collapse and smother the world. The Willamette forest grew darker, more menacing, the distinction between tree shadows and the inky abyss of night, blurring into a terrifying, seamless void. Only the relentless, percussive drumming of rain on the truck's roof, and the sodden leaves, and the sickening squelch of oversized tires in the thick, viscous mud, punctuated the suffocating silence. The black pickup skidded precariously around a sharp curve, its aging headlights momentarily sweeping across ancient, towering tree trunks, draped in sodden funereal moss like patient waiting specters. Then, with a jarring, bone-rattling halt, it stopped, its rear wheels sinking halfway into a churning, greedy mud puddle. Buck Thompson slammed the driver's door with a violent curse and lurched out, instantly soaked to the bone. The overpowering stench of cheap corn liquor radiating from him like a foul miasma. He wrenched open the rear door. "Get out, you useless damn thing!" He roared, his voice largely swallowed by the storm's insatiable maw. "This is where creatures like you were meant to end up. Die here and do the whole damn world a favor." Eli was hauled out unceremoniously and thrown onto the soggy, leaf-strewn ground like a bundle of unwanted rags. He groaned a small, broken sound, his small legs trembling, unable to support his slight weight. His thin T-shirt clung to him instantly, soaked through his dark hair plastered to his forehead by the icy rain. His eyes wide with a paralyzing cocktail of cold and abject terror fixed on Buck's menacing silhouette. "Uncle Buck!" he cried, his voice breaking a fragile, fraying thread in the roaring tempest. "Don't leave me, please. I'm sorry, I'll be good." I'll do whatever you say. Please don't leave me here all alone." The cold bit into him, a foreshadowing of the numbness he'd felt moments ago. His teeth began to chatter uncontrollably. The storm, indifferent to his suffering, drowned his desperate pleas. Buck, a cruel, twisted sneer contorting his features, kicked Buttons away with vicious force. The teddy bear flew through the air, a small, pathetic arc, landing in a sodden pile of wet, decaying leaves and muck. "I don't need your pathetic apologies," he hissed, looming over the small, shivering boy, a figure of pure malice. "I need you to disappear. Vanish. You're a useless, crippled brat. A curse. You ruin everything and everyone you touch." Eli instinctively covered his head with his thin arms and tried to crawl whimpering towards the distant, beloved shape of Buttons. But Buck, with a flash of vicious, unadulterated satisfaction, brought his calloused hand down in a stinging, open-handed slap. The force sent Eli sprawling, his face pressed hard into the cold, gritty mud, his lips splitting against a buried stone. He lay motionless for a few heartbeats, stunned, then tried to lift his head, his vision blurring, a roaring in his ears. You said Mama didn't love me." He gasped, his voice barely a breath against the relentless wind. "But I remember Mama always saying, 'You are a gift, Eli, a precious gift. Even if you're not like the others, you're my perfect, brave gift.'" His tiny voice, though trembling, held a desperate, fragile conviction. "I'm not trash. I'm not." "Shut your damn mouth!" Buck growled, raising his hand again, poised to strike his face, a mask of unbridled fury. Suddenly, the oppressive, suffocating darkness was sliced violently by the brilliant, almost painful glare of powerful modern headlights. A luxury sedan, sleek black and incongruously elegant in this savage wilderness, swept around the bend, its high-intensity beams illuminating the horrifying tableau with theatrical, undeniable precision. The blinding light forced Buck to recoil, squinting in discomfort and surprise, his arms still raised. The Mercedes glided to a silent stop on the muddy edge of the narrow dirt road. A door opened, and William Hargrove emerged. He was tall, his bearing immaculate despite the disarray of the storm that whipped around him. His salt and pepper hair was plastered to his forehead by the driving rain, but his face, etched with lines of authority and deep thought, exuded an uncommon, formidable calmness. His black cashmere overcoat billowed dramatically in the fierce wind, making him look like a figure stepping out of a classic film noir, an avenging angel in tailored worsted. He'd departed a high-profile state economic event in Eugene. His speech on restructuring the post-crisis housing market had earned a standing ovation, but the subsequent aggressive scrum of reporters had been an assault. Craving silence, he'd abruptly instructed his assistant to cancel further interviews, slipped into his Mercedes, and eschewed the monotonous highway for this little-known winding shortcut through the Willamette Forest towards his secluded lakeside mansion near Seattle. He hadn't anticipated witnessing a scene of such raw depravity. "Stop it right now." William Hargrove's voice, deep, clear, and as cold and cutting as the forest rain, sliced through the storm's incessant roar with undeniable authority. Buck whirled around, his surprise quickly morphing into raw, aggressive belligerence. "This ain't your concern, Fancy Pants. This here is a private family matter. Butt out before you get hurt. You are assaulting a defenseless child in a storm of this magnitude, in the middle of a remote forest." Hargrove took a measured, deliberate step forward, his gaze unwavering, pinning Buck like an insect. "And you dare to call that a family matter?" Buck chuckled, a harsh, ugly, grating sound. "He's my stepson, just teaching him a lesson he won't soon forget. Disciplined city slicker. Something you rich folks probably know nothing about." Hargrove didn't answer immediately. His sharp gaze shifted to Eli, a small mud-caked, shivering heap, fresh blood on his split lip, his pallor alarming. The child's small body trembled violently. Buttons lay abandoned. Hargrove's eyes, when they returned to Buck, had transformed from calm observation to glacial, dangerous steel. This is not teaching. This is torture. Desist immediately, or I will summon the authorities. They will listen to me. Buck glared. You think I'm scared of your damn phone, city boy? Out here ain't no reception for fancy gadgets. Hargrove retrieved his state-of-the-art smartphone, the screen glowing purposefully, already showing a satellite connection. William Hargrove. I am reporting aggravated child abuse, potentially attempted murder, involving a minor approximately 4 years of age in the Willamette Forest. Precise GPS coordinates to follow. Perhaps this individual needs a legally mandated education on state and federal law. The words, delivered with icy precision, landed like boulders. Buck froze. That name. Hargrove. He'd heard it. A financial titan synonymous with unimaginable wealth and connections. Who the hell do you think you are? Buck snarled, his bravado warring with a sickening lurch of primal fear. William stepped forward again, his silence menacing. He knelt beside Eli, expensive trousers soaking up mud. He removed his luxurious overcoat, draping it over the shivering child. What's your name, son? He asked, his voice now astonishingly gentle. Eli's eyelids fluttered, his lips tinged blue with encroaching hypothermia, trembled. Eli Carter. William gently squeezed the boy's shoulder. Then he rose, turning back to Buck, his face an impassive mask radiating unshakable intent. Last chance, Thompson. Leave, now. Unless you wish to see your face in this act as the lead story on the 6 o'clock news. It will be compelling. Buck gritted his teeth, eyes burning with impotent hatred. He took a hesitant step back. You're the unluckiest damn kid I've ever known. Cursed just like your foolish mother. He scrambled into his truck, gunned the engine, and careened away. Silence descended, broken only by wind and rain. William carefully, tenderly picked Eli up. The small body was ice-cold, frighteningly light. His breath was shallow, irregular. You'll be okay now, William said softly, cradling him close. No one will hurt you anymore. I promise. Eli's eyes fluttered closed. Too cold, aren't you? William's voice was laced with deep, urgent concern. He swiftly opened the Mercedes passenger door, carefully placed Eli's fragile, almost lifeless body onto the plush, heated leather seat. From Eli's fading consciousness, the feel of the smooth, warm leather was an alien sensation, so starkly different from the rusted, cold metal of Buck's truck. The sudden warmth was almost painful, a confusing comfort. William retrieved a thick emergency wool blanket from the trunk, wrapping the boy snugly. Eli's face was chalky, his breathing worryingly faint. William speed-dialed a number. Harold, it's William. His voice low, urgent. I need you at the mansion. Immediately. I have a child here, critical condition. Found him abandoned in the forest. He paused, gaze lingering on Eli. No time for questions. Hypothermia, severe trauma, malnutrition. Prepare for the worst. Meet me there in 30 minutes. Every second counts. Without waiting for a reply, William ended the call. The powerful Mercedes engine purred to life, surging forward. As they sped away, Eli, drifting in and out, saw the dark, menacing trees recede, replaced by the blurred lights of the car's interior and the incredibly smooth rocking motion. It was like floating. He wondered if this was dying or if it was an angel, like his mama said, taking him somewhere new. A silent, focused rage, colder than the storm, warred with a nascent, unfamiliar, yet fiercely protective tenderness in William's heart. Outside the imposing mansion, nestled beneath ancient fir trees on Seattle's exclusive outskirts, The morning mist clung tenaciously to every leaded window pane, diffusely reflecting the soft, warm lamplight. A gentle breeze rustled the heavy cream-colored silk curtains in a second-floor suite silent, save for the faint whir of medical equipment. In that grand suite, Eli Carter lay lost in an unfamiliar expanse of high thread count Egyptian cotton. More than 12 harrowing hours had passed. The bedside lamp had burned throughout the long night, illuminating Eli's pale, bruised face. Dr. Harold McLean, William's personal physician and trusted confidant, carefully placed his chilled stethoscope on Eli's chest. His brow furrowed. "He's severely malnourished, William," Harold stated gravely. "Profound dehydration. His core temperature was critically low, brink of irreversible hypothermic shock. Another hour, and the bruising, old and new layered like geological strata. Extensive, deeply troubling." William stood ramrod straight, hands, clenched gaze never leaving the child. Harold stripped off his gloves, expression somber. "I have to ask, William, what are your intentions? The authorities will need to be involved, Child Protective Services." William moved to the ornate chair and sat his large hand gently covering Eli's small cold one. The wind whistled a dirge. "I possess assets beyond measure, Harold. Influence, luxury. But until last night," his voice held a raw, vulnerable timbre, "until last night, I never truly had anyone who genuinely, desperately needed me. Not like this." He turned his gaze, meeting the doctor's clear, resolute, and fiercely protective. "I will be his shield, his guardian, his advocate. This child will know safety and care." Harold let out a slow breath and nodded. "Then I'll remain here for a few days. His system is so fragile, even a common fever could be catastrophic." William nodded. Deep within him, a stubborn belief was kindling. Eli was a fighter, a tiny, resilient star. Near dawn, as pale gray light bled through the drapes, William remained a steadfast vigil. Then, a slight movement. Eli's fingers twitched. William leaned closer. The boy's eyelids trembled, then slowly opened. His pupils cloudy, unfocused, veiled with shock pain and ingrained fear. The look was lost, haunted, ancient. "Eli," William whispered, "can you hear me? You're safe now." The boy blinked slowly, dry lips moving. You won't hit me. Please, I'll be quiet." The question struck William like a physical blow. He gently squeezed the boy's hand, his own voice thick. "No, Eli, never. I will never hit you. No one will hurt you here." Silent, scalding tears welled, soaking the pillowcase. He closed his eyes, lips moving almost imperceptibly. I'm sorry. For being weak. For being a burden. Mama said I wasn't, but..." William leaned down, pressing his forehead against the boy's small, cool hand. "No, Eli," he said, a ragged whisper. "You are stronger than anyone I know. You survived what no child should face. That, Eli, is extraordinary." In the quiet stillness, an invisible, unbreakable tether had formed. Not of blood, but forged in shared trauma, burgeoning hope, and nascent trust. That afternoon, while Dr. Harold conferred with a specialist nurse, William stayed with Eli. The boy was more alert, though profoundly weak. His gaze a complex mixture of fear, curiosity, and cautious hope fixed on the imposing yet surprisingly gentle man. Who are you?" Eli finally whispered. "My name is William Hargrove," he replied. "But you, Eli, if you wish, can call me Uncle Will." Eli bit his lip. "Why? Why did you help me? You don't even know me." William took a slow breath. "Because, Eli," he began, "because once a very, very long time ago, when I was not much older than you, I was a child a bit like you." Eli's eyes widened. William offered a small, sad smile. "No one believed in me. No one stood by me. I too knew what it was to be cold, hungry, and utterly alone. To think I wouldn't see another sunrise. So you survived too? Eli's whisper was barely audible. William nodded. Yes, thanks to one good, kind person. A person who saw something in me worth saving, who pulled me from a kind of desolate hell, much like I found you. Eli was silent, pulling the luxurious blanket tighter. So, where am I now? Is this a hospital? This is my home, William replied firmly yet gently. And Eli, if you choose, this can be your home too. You need not fear anyone or anything, ever again. I will ensure it. Eli looked at him, his young eyes searching. Then almost imperceptibly, he nodded, closed his eyes, and drifted back into a fretful but discernibly less tormented sleep. It felt less like escape, more like tentative surrender to an unimaginable safety. William leaned back, tension easing. He adjusted the blanket. Outside, Seattle was cloaked in gray, but within that grand room, a new fragile sun had begun to rise. In the wounded heart of a forgotten child, and unexpectedly, in the long dormant soul of a man who believed his own heart beyond such encroachments. Early morning sunlight streamed into the vast dining room. Eli sat at the enormous mahogany table legs, swinging beneath a procured high chair, eyes fixed on scrambled eggs and toast. He was more alert, but shadows clung. He remained largely silent, unsmiling, rarely finishing his food. William sat opposite financial papers, unread attention on Eli. The boy's plate was still half full. Eli placed his fork down, hands folding. You don't care for the eggs, Eli? William asked softly. Eli flinched, then shook his head. No. I like them, Uncle Will. Very good. Then why don't you finish them, son? The gentle question tightened the air. Eli lowered his head, fingers pleating his new shirt. After a long silence, he whispered, At Uncle Buck's place. If I ate it all? He said I was greedy. A greedy little pig. And then he'd hit me. Or lock me in the shed. An icy hand gripped William's heart. He rose, moved beside Eli, placing a comforting arm around the boy's trembling shoulders. Eli, he said, voice thick with sorrow and cold fury. Here you can eat all you want. Ask for more. No one will ever hurt you or call you names for being hungry again. Not while I'm here. Not ever. That is my solemn promise. Eli didn't react, then his shoulders began to shake. A tear splashed onto William's silk shirt, then another, then his body racked with silent, hiccuping, convulsive sobs. William held him tightly, patting his back, in a steady, reassuring cadence, offering unconditional solace Eli had never known. That evening, after a warm bath, William presented him with new slippers, smiling bears, soft as dandelion fluff. I noticed your feet get cold, he said. Try them on. Eli accepted them, eyes wide, caressing the plush material. As he was about to put them on, he hesitated, face tensing, eyes clouding. What's wrong, Eli? William asked, kneeling. My feet. They're very ugly. Eli whispered, shame coloring his voice, gaze on his misshapen, scarred feet. Mama used to say she'd buy me pretty special shoes. But then she went away. Uncle Buck, he always said cripples don't need shoes. Said I should just be grateful I could still crawl. William sat beside him, gently taking one scarred foot. Eli, he said, voice unwavering, I think these are the bravest, most remarkable feet I have ever seen. They endured so much. They carried you through darkness and ultimately out of that terrible forest. They are symbols of your strength. They deserve the softest slippers in the world. Eli bit his lip, an internal battle waging. Then slowly he slipped his feet into the bare slippers. For the first time, he didn't try to hide his foot. He stood taking hesitant steps. William watched. This was Eli taking his first steps away from shame towards a future where scars were testaments to resilience. Day by patient day, Eli unfurled. He no longer flinched at loud noises, but deep-seated anxieties remained. He'd freeze if a door lock clicked unexpectedly, or if William left without careful explanation and a promise of return. One gray afternoon, William returned from a tense board meeting to find Eli huddled in a library corner, clutching buttons now stitched with a new button eye Mrs. Davies found. Eli's eyes were wide fixed on some unseen horror breathing shallow. "Eli, why are you sitting here in the dark?" William asked gently. I thought you left," Eli whispered, voice raw. "Like Mama did. Like everyone always does." "You thought I would abandon you, Eli?" Eli nodded, head lowered. William crossed the room and knelt. "Eli," he said, voice firm but kind. "If I ever need to go away, I will always tell you beforehand. I will explain where I am going and when I will be back. And no matter where I go or how long I am gone, I promise you on my honor, I will always come back. Always. Because now, Eli, you are part of my life, an indispensable part." Eli looked up, his gaze meeting William's. For the first time in such a moment, no immediate evasion, only nascent questioning trust. Later that night, a light knock sounded at William's study door. Eli poked his head around, clutching a folded paper. I drew this. For you, Uncle Will." William smiled, laying down his pen. On the paper, a large house with a red roof and yellow windows. A tall, silver-haired stick figure stood beside a smaller boy, with one leg drawn differently, clutching a one-eyed teddy. Above, "The house of me and Uncle Will." A warmth spread through William. "Thank you, Eli," he said, voice husky. "This is the best drawing I have ever received. I will treasure it always." Eli beamed, a small, shy smile then blooming into the first genuine, unclouded joy William had witnessed. Tiny, courageous green shoots of healing were appearing. The late afternoon light struggled to penetrate the grimy windows of a derelict abandoned cannery office on Seattle's industrial waterfront, a place reeking of rust, dried fish, and forgotten despair. The air was a noxious cocktail of stale brine and decay. Buck Thompson occupied a shadowy corner, hunched on a broken crate, a nearly empty bottle of cheap whiskey clutched in his trembling hand. His bloodshot eyes were glued to a discarded, rain-soaked newspaper. The headline screamed, "Billionaire tycoon William Hargrove plays hero, rescues mysterious forest boy, an angel or a publicity stunt." Beneath it, a grainy shot showed William carrying a small blanket-wrapped child, his arms fiercely protective. Buck let out a harsh, mirthless laugh. "Well, I'll be goddamned," he rasped. "Still alive and kicking, are you, kid? Landed yourself in the lap of the richest goat in the state." He flicked the newspaper aside, eyes narrowing, an avaricious gleam rekindling. "That runt might just be worth a damn sight more than I figured." A gaunt addict nearby peered over. What's eatin' you, Buck? You know that kid." Buck sneered. "Know him, practically raised him. Think I'm gonna let him waltz off into a palace forgetting his dear old step-pappy?" He leaned forward, voice a venomous whisper. "These rich types hate scandal. Kidnapping, custody battles, child endangerment. Oh yeah, those words make 'em sweat. Play your cards right, show 'em a little heartfelt parental concern," he added with a sly, vulpine wink, "and they'll pay a fortune to make the problem disappear." He smirked, pulling out his cracked screen phone. "Hello, yeah, it's Buck. Buck Thompson. Listen, I need a lawyer. The kind who ain't too squeamish, but knows how to squeeze blood from a stone. Got a real rich fella I need to negotiate with." Meanwhile, at Hargrove Mansion, William was in his study. Eli, under Mrs. Davies's eye, was in the backyard trying to befriend a squirrel, his occasional laughter precious. On William's desk, an iPad displayed the humanitarian heart or cynical PR stunt headline. He frowned. Eli wasn't a PR opportunity. He was a child learning to trust again. William powered off the screen. Eli, come inside now. Lunch is almost ready. Eli scampered over, his limp still pronounced, but his movements joyful. Uncle Will, that squirrel? It's just like me. At first it was so scared, but now it almost took the apple from my hand. William chuckled, ruffling his hair. Yes, Eli. And in some ways, you're like me too. At first you were frightened of this big house, but now you're braver every day. Yes. Eli set his hand trustingly, reaching for William's. Because you don't scold me, or get angry, or make me feel bad. The sunlit peace was short-lived. That evening, William's private line trilled. An unknown blocked number, a prickle of unease. William Hargrove speaking. Well. Mr. Moneybags Hargrove. A coarse, slow voice dripped with false bonhomie and menace. William's hand tightened, heart plummeting. He recognized that drawl. Who is this? He demanded, voice glacially calm. Why, it's just the fella you forgot to thank for Eli's splendid upbringing. The voice sneered. Name's Buck Thompson. William stood abruptly. What is the purpose of this call, Thompson? Purpose? Just calling about my boy Eli. I am, after all, his legal biological father, his next of kin. High time he came home. He paused. But seeing as you've taken such a charitable shine to him, and I'm a reasonable man, let's just say a substantial thank you gesture, and I might just disappear. A boy needs his real pa. Maybe if I had a nest egg, I could give him the life his dear departed mother always dreamed of. A fresh start. William was silent, mind racing. How much would this fresh start cost Thompson? $500,000, Buck said easily. Cash, unmarked bills, just want enough to be a proper father. A humorless smile touched William's lips. You're not a father, Thompson. You're the monster that haunts his nightmares. Careful, my friend. Buck's voice hardened. I got the boy's official birth certificate. Pictures of us as a happy family. You fight me, I open my mouth to the press. You'll look like a kidnapper, a rich pervert. How's that for your reputation? The call ended. William slowly placed the receiver down, face grim. He walked to the window, gazing at the mist-veiled lawns. Eli slept peacefully. If Buck returned armed with a veneer of legality, would even William's resources be enough? Miles away in the grimy cannery office, Buck cackled, slamming his empty whiskey bottle. He stared at the newspaper photo. You think you've won Hargrove, he muttered. The game's only just begun. The Seattle sky was bruised pewter rain, falling in slanting silver threads. The massive wrought iron gates stood sentinel. William returned from his office, tension etched on his features. The gate bell pealed urgently. William strode to the security monitor. His blood ran cold. Buck Thompson, not the disheveled derelict. Today clad in a clean white shirt, greasy hair combed flat, a crooked tie. A worn briefcase in one hand, an official-looking envelope in the other. A cunningly constructed facade, far more dangerous. Let him in, Jennings, William said, voice low. The gate swung inward. William stepped onto the porch. What are you doing here, Thompson? Buck conjured a ghastly smile. Mr. Hargrove, I'm here in an official capacity. As Eli Carter's biological documented father, I've come to take my son home. Before William could retort, a shrill, terrified scream ripped through the air. No, no, please don't let him in. He'll hurt me again. Eli stumbled from behind an azalea bush face chalky and flung himself behind William, clutching his trousers. William bent hand on Eli's trembling shoulder. It's all right, Eli. I'm here. He won't touch you. Buck maintained his false smile. Now, son. Children, Mr. Hargrove, they exaggerate. A little misunderstanding. I simply want to raise him properly, give him the love and firm guidance he deserves. Raise him. William's jaw tightened. As you did before, beating him, starving him, abandoning him to die. Is that your definition of properly? Buck sighed theatrically. You misunderstand. That night, I merely wanted to teach him resilience. Tough love. Perhaps you've heard of it. William took a threatening step forward. You are not a father, Thompson. You are a parasite. Ah, but the law, Mr. Hargrove. Buck replied, voice sharpening triumphantly. He opened his briefcase, pulling out a yellowed, laminated document. A birth certificate. My name, Buckford T. Thompson, as father, and his mother's Sarah Lynn Carter. Irrefutable. William stared at the damning paper, heart sinking. Buck's smile widened. The law's on my side. You are not his legal guardian, none whatsoever. Eli squeezed William's hand, tears streaming. I don't want to go with him, Uncle Will. Please, he's not my real dad. You're my dad, Uncle Will, only you are. The anguish tore at William's soul. He was struck by Eli's desperate declaration. It solidified his resolve into adamantine. William knelt facing Eli. Eli, look at me. I will not let anyone hurt you, not him, ever again. Do you understand? He looked up, gaze locking with Buck's. He will not lay a hand on you. Buck took a bold step, composure slipping. William rose, a fortress of fury. This is my home. His safety is non-negotiable. You will not take him. All right, Hargrove, have it your way. Buck snarled, snatching back the certificate. We'll go to court. Let's see who the judge and media believe. Or, his voice dropped to a venomous whisper, reconsider my generous financial offer. Prevent unpleasantness. Don't dither. My patience isn't unlimited. With a malevolent smirk, he strode away. Eli looked up, face pale, voice trembling. He's going to take me away, isn't he, the paper? It means he can. William shook his head, pulling Eli into a fierce embrace. He may have a piece of paper that might be a lie. But I have you, and you have me. I will fight for you. He will not win. That night, his study became a command center. His lawyer, Lisa Grant, appeared via secure video. William, that birth certificate, if legitimate, gives him leverage. We need an emergency petition for temporary custody and a restraining order first thing. I don't care about complexities, Lisa. William's stated voice, quiet, intense. I care about Eli remaining safe and Thompson permanently removed from his life. Lisa nodded. I understand. I'll handle the legal strategy. But William, her gaze serious, prepare yourself. And Eli? A contested custody battle will be invasive, ugly, brutal. They will scrutinize everything. William looked out at the rain. A fiercely protective fire burned within him. He had to find leverage, something to discredit Buck utterly. A few evenings later, the acrid stench of stale beer and desperation clung to the Foghorn, a notorious dive bar overlooking Elliott Bay. Buck Thompson sat hunched at a back table. The door creaked open, admitting William Hargrove. Buck smirked. Well. Come to your senses, Hargrove. Ready to discuss my offer. William ignored him, placing a manila file and a USB drive on the sticky table. I didn't bring your money, Thompson. I brought truths. Buck scoffed. Truths, more fancy paperwork. I think, William replied, gaze cold, opening the file. You should be afraid of your meticulously documented history. He slid forward a notarized affidavit. Sarah Jenkins states her ex-boyfriend Buckford T. Thompson beat her 6-year-old son unconscious for spilling cereal. Another page, a child psychologist's report on Mary Ann Cooper, 5 years old, forced to stand in a freezing rainstorm for 4 hours by Buck, her mother's then-boyfriend, to toughen her up. A statement from a grocer. I often saw Mr. Thompson force the little boy Eli to sit on the cold market floor with a rusty tin cup begging. Bragged if Eli didn't collect $20, no dinner. William tapped the USB. And here's security footage. You kicking Eli in his injured leg outside a diner. A concerned passerby recorded it. The bar noise faded. Buck's bravado evaporated, face paling. Who gave you the right to dig into my private life? He snarled. The law, Thompson, William replied. The law gives me the right to protect a child and love. Something you know nothing about. Buck managed a weak laugh. So what ancient history? What are you going to do, call the cops? William nodded. I can, and will. You'll face felony counts. But I am offering one final chance. Buck's eyes narrowed. What kind of chance? William leaned forward, voice a lethal whisper. Renounce in writing all parental claims to Eli Carter. Sign adoption consent papers. Leave this region, never contact Eli or myself again. Disappear. Utterly. Buck's eyebrows shot up. And if I tell you to go to hell? William tilted his head. Then I will make you infamous. Your face, your history plastered everywhere. You think you can stand against my resources? I have connections with the press justice system agencies you haven't heard of. You won't just lose. You'll lose your ability to exist anonymously. I will ensure you are hounded, prosecuted. A serial child abuser, conman extortionist. There will be no corner of this earth where you find peace. Buck choked, face a mask of stunned disbelief. After a suffocating silence, a broken, bitter laugh. I should have left that damn kid deeper in the woods. Let the wolves have him. William stood abruptly. Fortunate for you, Thompson, you didn't. If Eli hadn't survived, our conversation would be less civil. He picked up the drive-in file. 3 days to contact my lawyer, Lisa Grant. Sign the papers, take money for a one-way ticket to oblivion, and vanish. Or face the consequences. Choose wisely. Buck sat alone, shattered. Outside, William walked briskly into the Seattle drizzle. The ghosts of Eli's past had been dragged into light. William would ensure they never darkened his son's life. Back at Hargrove Mansion, Eli sat on the sofa, buttons cradled, eyes on the grandfather clock. William opened the door. Eli scrambled off the sofa. Uncle Will. Where were you? It got so late. I was scared. William knelt, smiling wearily, ruffling Eli's hair. Just had to take care of something, Eli, to make sure you're always safe, that no bad men can bother you again. Eli looked up, hope flickering. He won't come back anymore, Uncle Buck, not ever. William smiled. No, son. After tonight, I don't believe he'll have the courage to try. Eli leaned his head against William's shoulder, a silent expression of trust. This battle, William knew, was round one. The journey of being a true father had just begun. A week later, an uneasy feeling settled over William. Subtle rustlings near the estate, fleeting shadows on security monitors. He tightened protocols. Early one morning, he went to the basement security room. Rewind surveillance from cameras 6, 9, and 11 perimeter B for the past 3 nights, OS 200 to 400 hours. A grainy image flickered. A figure in a dark, shapeless coat hood, low skulking near the tree line. Not attempting entry, just observing. The figure turned. The hood slipped. Buck Thompson's cruel profile. William's hand clenched. He didn't leave. He called Lieutenant Harris. "Lieutenant William Hargrove. It's Buck Thompson. He's back. On surveillance footage. Stalking us. I want him apprehended." "Send the footage, Mr. Hargrove." Harris replied grimly. "We'll set up surveillance. Do not confront him. If he breaches your property, we'll be ready." William stared at Buck's image. He still thinks he can win. His real plan was more insidious than simple observation. Buck, after signing the papers and taking the money, had fumed. He felt cheated. He then tracked down Silas Croft, the disgraced ex-county clerk, who'd forged Eli's first false birth certificate, now a paranoid, jittery wreck living on the city's fringes. Buck, using threats and a small portion of Hargrove's money, coerced Croft into helping him with a new desperate scheme. Croft, terrified of further exposure, but more terrified of Buck, penned a letter supposedly from Eli's deceased mother, Sarah Lynn. The letter, written in a passable imitation of a woman's hand, spoke of a hidden treasure, a last gift for her brave little star, buried near the old, abandoned lighthouse by the Sound. A place Eli's mother had once mentioned in passing, a place now derelict and dangerous. The letter instructed Eli to come alone to keep it secret, ensuring his true inheritance. Croft, under duress, was to deliver this letter, hoping to disappear before the inevitable fallout. The letter arrived, slipped into a book Eli often read. Eli found it. His heart pounded. Mama a treasure, his brave little star. He recognized the phrase, a sacred memory. The mention of the lighthouse stirred a faint, sad echo. Torn between a desperate childlike hope and a learned caution, the former won. This was from Mama. He had to go. He knew how to slip out the back garden gate that Mrs. Davies sometimes left unlatched when tending her roses. That afternoon, while William was in a crucial video conference, Eli clutched the letter and crept out. He made his way towards the distant, crumbling lighthouse on the storm-battered point, a forgotten relic silhouetted against the gray, churning water. Buck waited in the shadows of the lighthouse's damp, echoing base, the stench of mildew and salt thick in the air. He saw Eli approach, small and hesitant. "Well, now, Eli, glad you could make it." Buck rasped, stepping out a coil of rope and a wicked-looking hunting knife visible in his hand. "Your mama always did want you to have what's yours." Eli froze the letter fluttering from his grasp. You wrote this, not Mama. Smart kid." Buck sneered, but too late. He lunged. Just then, a shout. "Buck, let him go." William, having felt an overwhelming premonition and checking Eli's room, found him gone, then saw the dropped letter and raced to the lighthouse. Buck spun, grabbing Eli, pulling him close, the knife glinting terrifyingly near the boy's throat. "Stay back, Hargrove, or the kid gets it. He's my ticket out of here and my revenge on you." "There's no way out, Thompson." William said, his voice surprisingly calm, his eyes locked on the knife. "It's over. It's over when I say it is." Buck pressed the knife closer. Eli whimpered, "I'm his father. I have rights." "You have no rights, Thompson." A new voice boomed. Lieutenant Harris and several officers, alerted by William's frantic call en route, and already closing in on Buck due to the earlier surveillance, emerged from the surrounding dunes, weapons drawn. "And you're not his father." Simultaneously, Lisa Grant's voice, amplified through a police loudhailer, cut through the tense air. "Buck Thompson, we have Silas Croft in custody. He's confessed everything. The original birth certificate for Eli Carter names Michael Reynolds as the father. Reynolds died before Eli was born. You forged that document, Thompson. You are a fraud and an abuser." Buck stared, stunned, the knife wavering. In that instant of hesitation, William charged. He slammed into Buck, a primal roar, tearing from his throat, knocking the man off balance. The knife clattered away. Eli scrambled free as officers swarmed Buck, subduing him. William rushed to Eli, enveloping him in a fierce hug. "It's okay, son. You're safe. It's over. It's truly over." The trial was swift. Silas Croft's full confession, combined with the mountain of evidence of abuse and the dramatic attempted kidnapping, sealed Buck's fate. Judge Eleanor Vance, looking at the original birth certificate naming Michael Reynolds, and then at Buck's forgery, her eyes filled with contempt. "Mr. Thompson, your deception knows no bounds. 25 years, no parole for 15. May God have mercy on your soul, for this court has none." William's adoption petition, accompanied by reports and Eli's own letter, "I want to live with my dad, Will, forever. He keeps all the monsters away. He is my real dad," was formally approved. Mr. William Hargrove is formally joyfully recognized as the legal and adoptive father of Eli Carter, henceforth to be known as Eli Hargrove. Applause filled the room. Eli turned to William, eyes sparkling with unshed tears of joy. "Now you are truly, irrevocably mine, son," William said softly. The Seattle sky was pale gray, but not raining. Watery sunlight filtered through. Waves lapped at Golden Gardens Park. William held Eli's hand. The salty sea breeze tugged at their clothes. Eli's limp was now part of his unique rhythm. "The sea smells salty and big and new," Eli said. William chuckled. "First time smelling the real ocean, Eli." "Yes, in the forest. It was all just wet dirt and yucky rotten leaves." William squeezed his hand. "Today marks your first real sight of the sea. And perhaps," he added, "the first time you've seen yourself, Eli, genuinely free." Eli nodded, gazing at the horizon. "My mama and the man who said he was my dad never took me anywhere nice." A lone seagull soared. Eli giggled, pure, uninhibited joy. They sat on a driftwood log. Eli tugged William's sleeve. "Uncle Will." William turned, smiling. Eli hesitated. Can I maybe call you Dad?" The question, soft, vulnerable, reverberated in William's heart. He froze, then knelt. "Eli," his voice thick, "from the moment you stumbled into my life, I hoped more than anything that one day you might feel safe enough, loved enough to want to call me that." Eli's face fell. If I shouldn't have. It's okay." "No," William interrupted, voice choked. "No, Eli. From this very moment, Dad is yours to use, always. It would be my greatest honor." He pulled Eli into a fierce hug. They embraced not as rescuer and rescued, but as father and son. Eli buried his face in William's chest. "Dad," Eli whispered the word, "precious. I think I love you, Dad." William closed his eyes. He had gained something more valuable than all his billions, a sacred place in the heart of a child. His son. On the drive back, Eli hummed Buttons beside him. William smiled. "Son, if you could choose anywhere to go next weekend, what would it be?" "The park with the ducks and, Dad, I really want to try riding a bike." William nodded. "A bike it is. Dad will teach you, but you have to promise one thing." "What, Dad?" "No matter how many times you fall, you have to get back up. Can't give up." Eli grinned. "Oh, like when I used to practice standing up after Uncle Buck, when my leg hurt?" William's smile faded slightly, but he nodded. "Yes, Eli, exactly like that. But now you're standing up to ride towards joy, towards your future." That evening, Eli ran into William's study with a drawing, a large red crayon heart. Inside, a tall man with silver hair, a small boy with one leg shorter holding his hand, and a one-eyed teddy bear held triumphantly. Above, "My family." William held out his arms. Eli launched into them. Simple, profound comfort. From within the mansion, A simple universal story was rewritten by one small potent word, Dad. A few days later at the beach, Eli held two drawings. One of a dark, scary forest with a tiny, frightened figure and a larger, menacing one. He looked at it, then walked to the water's edge and let it float away on a receding wave. "This one goes away," he said to Buttons, who sat on the sand. He then held up the second, the beach, the son William and himself smiling, holding hands. "This one stays." He showed William. "This is us, Dad." Just before Eli drifted off to sleep that night, tucked securely in his bed, Buttons beside him, he asked drowsily, "Dad, if I grow up really big and strong, will I forget all the bad, scary stuff?" William smoothed his hair. "Perhaps not forget completely, son. Our memories, even painful ones, make us who we are. But they won't hurt you anymore. Because you'll have so many more good, bright, happy memories, they'll be stronger like sunshine chasing away shadows." Eli nodded a sleepy, contented smile. "So, I'll remember the drawing of the beach, and you teaching me to ride my bike, and Buttons being brave. I'll remember being Eli Hargrove, always." William sat beside him watching his son sleep. Deep, tranquil slumber. He was no longer the abandoned child. He was Eli Hargrove, a beacon of resilience, tangible proof that wounds could heal, that life could offer profound grace. If someone was patient, courageous, and loving enough to stay. And later in his study, William Hargrove placed the framed drawing of "My Family" in the center of his mahogany desk, the true testament to his greatest, most precious acquisition.